Our next item is P6, Technology Deputy Director Reports. 1, Proposed Automation Project, Centralized Revenue Opportunity System.
Anna Brannon, Chief Information Officer, the Board of Equalization. I'm here today to give you a presentation on, share with you information and background on a new automation project that we'll be undertaking, and also to share with you information on a CEA position that will be overseeing this effort. A couple of years ago, I reported back to you that our automation systems were pretty stable. That to replace these systems would likely cost tens of millions of dollars of general fund, and that our plan was to basically build upon that which already exists as to minimize kind of general fund impact. But since that time, much has changed. As you know, our e-services has been really embraced by our taxpayers. They'd like to see more of kind of the online experience. They would also, which unfortunately, because they like our systems so much, they're using them more, which is driving up our automation costs. Much of the systems behind those nice internet front ends that our taxpayers see is older technology, and that older technology is costing more to run. For example, you just approved an automation contract of $11.2 million with the OCIO. And there's been an increase in that contract of about $400,000 because of the new tax changes that have come our way, and that it's costing more to run those systems over at the data center. We also expect that the software products that are used for our tax accounting system, the IRIS system, will be increasing, and that's due to a lawsuit that this administration has underway. And when that lawsuit is done and we get a new contract, we expect that those licensing costs for that product will increase enormously. And it's unlikely that the administration will give us additional funds to cover that increase. We've also had an unusual couple of years in that we've experienced a number of tax changes. Given the state's current fiscal crisis, it's likely that we will see more and more of those changes. And our systems are just really not built to handle multiple tax changes at a time. We also are very limited in the adoption of best practices. Most of the business processes that we use in our field offices throughout here in central office are based on these automation systems. And so we're not able to do things use the same kind of best practices that other state agencies and other revenue agencies in the nation are able to use. And finally, we're not able to use sophisticated automation tools that would focus our audit and collection efforts to be more productive, so that kind of increases some of our inefficiencies. So given all this, it's time for us to replace our current legacy systems. This includes the IRIS system and the ACMS system, which we use for collection purposes. We also need to look at implementing a data warehouse that would give us the ability to use more information from other state agencies, IRS, bring in those data sources, and we could use better automation tools as a result of that. We also want to expand our online services to create kind of more that online banking experience that many of us use in our own personal lives in our banking. We'd like to provide that also to our taxpayers. So the approach to this kind of replacement and new automation systems is we really want our systems to now be taxpayer-centric, focused on the functional alignment that that we see happening throughout our organization, and to also encompass all of our tax programs. To move forward with this, we plan to pursue a procurement that will be results in a benefits-based contract. This is the same contracting method that is used by other states' revenue agencies. It's used throughout our Franchise Tax Board and Employment Development Department. The nice part of this kind of procurement effort, it does not require upfront general funds. Payments are based to the contractor on increasing revenues, meeting specific requirements, and providing specific deliverables or items. This project team will be overseen by a CEA-3. This will be a position that was used formerly in our Property and Special Tax Department. It will involve a change in level and in duties. The CEA position will go through the standard Department of Personnel approval process, and of course will go through the standard CEA recruitment process here at the board. The core team will consist of 15 redirected positions from our Property and Special Tax Department, our Sales and Use Tax Department, and the Technology Services Department. Depending on the project activity underway at any one time, there will also be additional work groups and subject matter experts that will be pulled in to work on whatever it is that they're working on at that time. We will also, this project team is pretty much very similar to the two benefits-based projects that are underway at Franchise Tax Board and Employment Development Department. It's the same kind of model that they're using. We also will probably get additional consulting expertise to help us in the project planning and management, document preparation, and the actual procurement. We are currently putting together the team now, and we hope to have a contract in place within a couple years. Before ending our presentation today, I'd like to turn it over to my colleagues to talk about how we want to approach this from a tax payer or a tax model perspective, and how we plan to communicate this to our headquarters and field office staff.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Brennan. Please.
Sure. David Gow with the Property and Special Taxes Department. Obviously, one of the first steps in the process is to assess our business needs, and this includes both our internal needs as well as those of our tax and fee payers and the other external partners that who rely on our information and we on theirs. So that's a key component up front that we'll be working on. Another one is the ability to view a complete picture of a taxpayer or fee payer's profile across all the tax and fee programs. This would be both for our internal needs as well as those of our and customizable for our external users. We administer about 25 programs here at the board, and of those we have about 135,000 registrants that are registered in multiple programs. This complete view or profile of an account from registration to return filing to audits to accounts receivable. These things all would dovetail very nicely with the functional efforts that we've been undertaking at this time. So one of the other points is that when IRIS was developed the last time, the special tax and fee programs were a project separate and came in later. This focus on this one is comprehensive, agency-wide, and we are anxious and eager to participate with the special tax and fee programs, and are willing to put positions into this effort, key positions and people to get it done right.
Randy Henry, Deputy Director of the Sales and Use Tax Department. Of course, communication is important in any project, and our staff communication plan will go beyond just identifying and developing the technical requirements to implement a new integrated tax and fee program or fee system. This plan will not only document current business processes, but ask staff to identify ways to improve existing business process, activities that can automate to increase efficiencies, identify new activities of information to improve their jobs, and activities or information that should be eliminated. As I always said, we shouldn't just pave over the snake in the middle of the highway. Many of the things that we did under the last program was basically we just took the form that we had filled out and made it online. So we're hoping for some new innovative ways, things that we can get rid of, things that we can improve, and also consider maybe more functional programs. All BOE staff will be encouraged to participate in identifying how the BOE will administrate tax and fees in the future, include identifying what headquarters and field offices will look like. To accomplish this, we will encourage open communication with all BOE and staff. Develop a web page for EBO, providing not limited to the following: the current project charter, current project timeline, links to vision meetings information, the ability to post surveys, monthly project news, updates and status reports, dedicated email address to accept staff suggestions, hold kickoff meetings in headquarters and the field, encourage the participation from the board members. It'd be great if you guys would come out to some of the field offices too and help support the new program and solicit suggestions. Utilize staff experts to obtain pertinent information on business process. Allow staff to take ownership in the process and the new system, and take advantage of some existing projects that we already have, such as our digital audit project.
Thank you very much, Ms. Henry. Comments, members? Let me just start with one. I guess my first one would be, it's about time. This is really exciting. I'm thrilled at the capability and the capacity that we will be able to have when we move in this direction. And I've always been a little upset when the legislature has designs on new revenue programs and expect that this organization can just get them up and running, in 24 hours. So this will certainly enhance that capacity. But more importantly, I think with respect to how we continue to interface with our taxpayers and begin to hopefully embark on an ongoing examination of our business practices, that we're going to be able to just adapt to changing conditions, and certainly taxpayer how we can serve our taxpayers better in a more timely manner. I did want to also acknowledge that I'm happy to see that there will be a project director focused on leading this effort, and wanted to point out to the members this is not an addition of a CEA position. We actually are redirecting one and classifying it to meet the I think the leadership qualities that are going to be required to be sure this project is successful. So I'd like to entertain any other comments that members have, and then obviously have Ms. Brannon leave here with the assent of this board to proceed. Ms. Steele.
Thank you very much for doing it, and I'm just grateful that we are going to the right direction. If I can have a little request, when you find out those forms that we never use, or something that it's been there forever, but new forms that we put it in on the website, if we can simplify it and then make it easier for the taxpayers to use it, and I'm going to be really grateful for that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Other comments, members? Okay, hearing none, I think, Ms. Brannon, you have our assent to proceed, and we look forward to being a part of this effort. Thank you.